It was an uprising against a repressive regime. It became a battleground for world powers looking to impose their vision on the region. The president, Bashar al-Assad, is still there. In any sense, is he the victor? Once the country's biggest city, Aleppo became a center of opposition to the Assad regime. It was retaken by the Syrian government a year ago. Other territories followed, with help from Iran and Russia, which may have tipped the balance in Assad's favor.
Without the help of Hezbollah, of Russian air power, of Iran-led militias, Assad could not maintain the hold of the territory he has at the moment, let alone capture the whole country.
In 2015, Russia entered the fighting, helping the regime's depleted forces. It launched air campaigns, supposedly targeting terrorists, but killing thousands of civilians. Iran, too, has sent in Hezbollah fighters to counter Islamic State, Daesh, and they claim as an anti-imperialist presence in the region. Since 2011, almost 500,000 people have been killed, and more than 10 million Syrians have been displaced. President Assad says it's the economic siege imposed by the West that is making the humanitarian crisis worse. He maintains that all he and his allies want is to rid Syria of terrorist groups. Groups some argue that he helped to create.
At the start of the uprising, the Assad regime released Islamists from jails that ended up becoming a core part of ISIS, the leadership and rank and file. But also by refusing to heed demands, Syrian demands for reform and for the brutal crackdown of peaceful protests, it created a vacuum in the country that was bound to be filled, if not by ISIS, by al-Qaeda or some other radical elements.
The world watched as evidence emerged of sarin gas attacks on civilians. The UN says the regime's forces have used chemical weapons more than 24 times. Despite all this, Assad remains in power, challenged but unmoved. Assad's regime has proved so far impossible for a fractured opposition to topple, and his presidency looks set to continue. The priority has shifted to supporting Syrian refugees displaced by the conflict. As world powers continue to fight for control of the region, whoever wins, it will be Syrian civilians who have suffered the most.